Red Bull Ring in Spielberg. It's phenomenal being here in Austria. We've got fantastic weather, even though it's a little chilly. And we're looking forward to this exciting race weekend. Only 4 more races to go in this season. It's going to be super tight, that's for sure. The man who's leading the championship is Sheldon van der Linde, but the man who's going to be trying to pick up the points is this young man here, Lukas Auer, because he is 32 points behind Sheldon, and he's going to do everything to pick up the points because this is his home race here in Austria, and obviously it's going to be super, super important in the qualifying to do really well there. So let's see and let's get qualifying. Here's your commentator.
Thanks very much indeed, Verena. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this wonderful circuit here as we get set for the penultimate weekend of DTM 2022. I'm Chris Hartley, and I'll talk you through what's going to be another scintillating, I'm sure, 20-minute qualifying session. The session due to get underway in just about 4.5 minutes' time now. There is reigning champion Maximilian Gutz, whose long run of consecutive point-scoring finishes came to an end in race 2 at Spa last time out, but he had half a dozen races in the points to get himself up the championship table. There is a driver still looking for his first points in DTM, but coming very close on a number of occasions, not least at Spa 2 weeks ago, where David Schumacher, in his first season of DTM, was running well up in the top 10 until the closing laps of the race. David Schumacher will be looking to go well here and get himself in the points, but it's going to be oh so tight based on what we saw in the free practice sessions yesterday. Once again, the majority of the field covered by less than a second in the free practice session. So free practice 1, we had 21 cars covered by less than a second. In free practice 2, which was of a very similar pace in the afternoon, it was even tighter, in fact, when you went down the order, and you had 25 cars covered by less than a second in qualifying. Lukas Auer then, one of 4 Austrian drivers here, hoping to gain success in his home race. He's never won at the Red Bull Ring. He's got 8 victories to his name. He was the first ever Austrian, in fact, to win a race in the DTM when he got his first victory back at the Lausitz Ring in 2016. And there's somebody who knows how to win around this circuit. 3 times a winner at the Red Bull Ring. René Rast, the 3-time champion, 3rd in the points. But that is the points leader, the driver they're all trying to catch, Sheldon van der Linde, having his best season so far in DTM. He's got 130 points. He's got a 32-point lead over Lukas Auer and a 34-point lead over René Rast, who are on 98 and 96 points respectively. Mirko Bortolotti, who led the first half of the championship, is 4th on 94 points and 36 points adrift. But there are still 116 championship points available. You can get 3 points for qualifying on pole. You get 25 points for a race win. You can get a bonus point as long as you're classified in the race for the fastest lap of the race as well. So it is still wide open, and mathematically going into this penultimate weekend of the season, we've still got 19 drivers that could win the championship title. Dennis Lawson is the driver on form at the moment. He picked up his first ever pole position and then his first ever race win in the DTM, what was only his 6th weekend of the season. And the former Porsche Carrera Cup champion has put himself up to 5th place in the championship standings now on 87 points, only 43 points adrift of the leader. So if you look at the form guide, the last 6 races, as you look at the current championship standings there to the bottom right of your picture, the form guide, the last 6 races, Dennis Lawson has scored more points than anybody else. He's got 76 points. Thomas Preining, another Austrian driver who's been going well here this weekend, has got the 2nd most points over the last 6 races, 66 points. Then Maximilian Gutz with 56 points. And then the championship leader, 4th in terms of points scored in the last 6 races on 52 points. The one that's really dropped back, of course, if you look at the top 8 in the championship, is Mirko Bortolotti, who's only scored 28 points over the last 6 races. There's Marco Wittmann, who was quick in qualifying here last year.
3.5 minutes before we arrived into the pit lane.
Gets the team radio that you got just a couple of minutes to go in the session, but Marco Wittmann, who was very much featured in the championship fight right up until the end of the 2021 season, was a driver that was good here at the Red Bull Ring. It was a mid-season race, and he qualified for what was his 2nd pole of the year last year in the BMW on pole position. There was a pole position for Liam Lawson last year, so Ferrari will hope for success in qualifying. And Liam Lawson, who went on to come oh so close to winning the championship title in his first season last year, he was the driver that won both races at the Red Bull Ring. So we're here in the heart of the Styrian Mountains at this wonderful venue, which has evolved over the years. It was originally racing around here.
5.5 minutes, the session will be green.
Racing around here was on a military airbase, not too far away, about 5 kilometres away in Zeltweg. Then a permanent racetrack was built at the Austria ring.
As discussed before, we'll queue up, then I will come back to the frequency to turn on the engine.
The Austria ring hosted Grand Prix from 1970 to 1987. And then it was shortened and became the A1 ring in the 1990s. And then Dietrich Mateschitz, the Red Bull owner and founder, took over the circuit, brought the circuit in 2011. It became the Red Bull ring, and it's a wonderful facility. So we're looking at Leon Kohler, who is a very late entry this weekend. He's standing in this weekend for Esteban Moot, who's having to miss the final 2 weekends of the season due to an operation. So Leon only popped up on the very last edition of the entry list yesterday morning, but went very well, got in the top 10 in free practice too. It's Manuel Reuter, who's with the Grasser Racing team, a former DTM star and ITR champion, who works with the drivers, brought in at the start of the year. Gottfried Grasser, the team principal, and the Grasser Racing team will be hoping for a great weekend, because this is, of course, their first season in DTM and therefore their first home race as a DTM team. But they've won here before on 2 occasions. Mirko Bortolotti has won with them in the ADAC GT Masters Championship at this circuit. And the team is only based around about 15 minutes drive from the track. So slightly late to the start of the session due to the fact that a couple of sessions ago we had to clear up an incident or a broken down car in the DTM Classics. That had a knock-on effect to the previous session to this, which was the DTM Trophy. But the organisers doing a good job to catch up most of the time. So we are going to start the session 6 minutes later than scheduled. It will be a 20-minute session to set the grid for race 1. And the other thing to...
So you can start the engine. We will queue in 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
Other thing to mention to you is grid penalties. There are a few that are going to be carried into the race from Spa. René Rast had contact with Nick Cassidy, if you were watching the second race at Spa, and picked up a 5-second time penalty. He never got to serve that because he then dropped out of the race. And therefore, instead, he's been given a 3-place grid penalty for race 2. So René Rast, championship contender, wherever he qualifies, it'll be 3 places lower down the grid. Arjun Maini, for multiple track limits offences at Spa in race 2, has got a 3-place grid penalty for this first race this afternoon. And Lawrence Van Tour and Marco Wittmann have also got 3-place grid penalties, track limits for the second race at Spa, which are going to be carried forward to this first race this afternoon. So 4 drivers there carrying grid penalties. The other big thing to mention from the free practice sessions is track limits. It's a 10-corner circuit, this, 4.3 kilometres long. Turns 9 and 10 at the end of the lap are quick. They are downhill and there is a lot of runoff area. But if you put all 4 wheels over the curbs, you are deemed to have exceeded track limits. And yesterday, there was an enormous amount. So in free practice 1 yesterday, we had 126 laps. Yes, 126 laps taken away from drivers combined in free practice 1. The biggest offender had, I think it was 11 or 12 offences, laps taken away during the first free practice session. And in free practice 2, they got a bit better, but not much. 93 laps were taken away in total. So 219 laps were taken away for track limits offences yesterday. And that means each driver on average, and every driver was guilty, every driver pushed the track limits at one point or another, but every driver averaged basically 8 track limits offences during those 2 free practice sessions. Turns 9 and 10 is where 99% of it was happening, and they're going to have to be careful, because if they lose laps here by pushing the cars beyond the boundaries of the circuit, then it is going to affect their qualifying position. And if they do it in the race repeatedly, you get a couple of warnings, then you get away with it twice, then you get a warning on the 3rd time. 4th time, and each time thereafter, you get penalties in the races, so 5 seconds added on each time. So it's going to be an issue. It's been an issue here before at the Red Bull Ring, and something the drivers will have to be very, very mindful of. So Sheldon van der Linde all set to go. 2 weekends potentially away from the championship title, and mathematically could even wrap it up this weekend if he extends his championship lead to 58 points or more, which is how many points will be available in the final weekend at Hockenheim in 2 weeks' time. Then he could wrap up the championship title. He's got more wins than anybody else as well, with 3, which It's almost worth another championship point, because if anybody ties with him on points, he's going to have more wins with them, and it would work on countback. So he's had 2 wins at Lausitzring in the second weekend of the season. He won at the Nürburgring. He was on the podium with a strong second-place finish last time out at Spa, and he is the driver to beat. In terms of the free practice times yesterday, Clement Schmidt, another Austrian driver, going well yesterday in free practice 1 in the GRT Grasser Racing.com Lamborghini, set a time of 1:28.565, but bearing in mind they'll have lighter fuel loads, they'll have fresher tyres on for today, they should be getting quicker than that. But 1:28.565 was the quickest lap yesterday. That was in free practice 1. Thomas Preining was second in free practice 1. Kelvin van der Linde was third. Nico Müller, Mirko Bortolotti and Ricardo Feller were in the top 6. Free practice 2, Shelton van der Linde was quickest with a 1:28.574. It's not quite as quick, but almost as quick as the fastest lap in free practice 1. Preining was second again. Dennis Olsen was third in free practice 2. Nico Müller was up there in 4th. Lawrence Van Toor was 5th, and Mirko Bortolotti was 6th. So 1:28.5, the quickest lap yesterday, but I think we'll go quicker than that today. The lap is divided into 3 sectors. Sector 1 takes in turn 1 all the way up to the top of the hill, just before you get to the hairpin at turn 3. So that's a relatively short sector. Sector 2 takes in turn 3, the hairpin at the top of the hill, and then the run downhill into turn 4, the run downhill through 5, the right-hander, 6, the left-hander, and just before you get to turn 7, which is the Graz turn. So that's a much longer sector, sector 2, and sector 3, the end of the lap, takes in the left at Graz, the right at turn 8, so you go over the crest then and downhill through 9 and 10 at the end of the lap. So sector time-wise, best we had yesterday was at 22.2 in sector 1, 38.9 seconds in sector 2 and 26.8 seconds in sector 3. So when those times we get close to in this first part of qualifying, we can start to get excited about the times. Yesterday in free practice 1, it was cold in the morning. The track temperature was only 5.5 degrees. The air temperature was only 8 degrees. It warmed up for the afternoon session, which started at about 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon, to 17 degrees air temperature, and around about 13 or 14 degrees track temperature. At the moment, it's somewhere in between. Air temperature 9 degrees, 9.3, and track temperature 9.5. So it's cold. Beautiful, sunny, crisp day. We might not get this tomorrow. Forecast has been for rain tomorrow, but today looks good. But it is cold and crisp, and it'll take a little bit of time to get heat into the tyres in these cars. So there's the view out of turn 10. Downhill on the exit, into a dip over the start-finish line, and an uphill braking into the right-hander at turn 1, the Niki Lauda turn, named after the Formula 1 legend. That's a second gear corner. They approach it at somewhere like 245 kilometres an hour, down to second gear, through turn 1 at 115 kilometres an hour. Then they climb uphill. The exit to turn 1, absolutely critical to get the power down, to get good traction, because you don't touch the brakes again for a very long time. You climb uphill, the gradient's about 12% at its steepest. And then you go through the left-hander at turn 2, which is flat out really, just a kink, the Munster curve, and then down to first gear for the first proper braking zone after turn 1, which is turn 3, and a hairpin, which is just 65 kilometres an hour. So some artistic shots of our championship leader going into battle in this qualifying session. Sheldon van der Linde has picked up 10 championship points so far this year from qualifying, which is the equivalent of a 5th place finish in a race. So qualifying has been a strong suit for him. He's had 2 pole positions and 3 other front row starts, Sheldon van der Linde. He's averaged 8th on the grid, which is better than anybody else in the championship, and scored those valuable championship points. How will he get on here? He was in the middle of the pack in free practice 1, but he did set a really good lap time, which put him top of the times until, guess what? It was taken away for track limits. So Marius Zug becomes the first driver to set a time. It's a 1:34.461 as they continue to build up the tyre temperature. Interesting to see how the Audis get on. In an interview with the Sportsline team, René Rast's race engineer Felix Fechner has said that the Audi's biggest weakness is coming out of slow corners, traction out of slow corners, and there are 2 slow exits here at the start of the lap, turn 1 and turn 3, that hairpin. So if they can get that right, if they can get the car better through there, they should be competitive. But yesterday it was a real mixed bag in free practice. In free practice 1, a Lamborghini was quickest, a Porsche was second, Audis were 3rd and 4th. In free practice 2, a BMW was quickest, and then we had 2 Porsches, 2nd and 3rd, and an Audi 4th. Mercedes, perhaps the car that's been slightly off it, but been in the top 10. Lucas Auer was 7th quickest as you ride on board with him yesterday in free practice 2. Leon Kohler doing a fine job yesterday to get in the top 10. 3rd in the Porsche Carrera Cup Deutschland last year, and front runner in the Porsche Super Cup as well. 5th place in that championship last year. Really hit the ground running. And first sector time is pretty handy, you know, 22.38 seconds. 22.2 was the best we saw yesterday. So getting down to the times already. We will, I'm sure, go quicker than we went yesterday. Sheldon van der Linde's hit the ground running with a 22.34, which is even quicker. Felipe Fraga is further up the lap, so he's going to probably set the first properly competitive lap time. Although Michael Grenier has just gone through with a 129.0, and there it is. Maro Engel, first one into the 128. Felipe Fraga is also in the 128s, but slightly slower, 2nd place for now. So 128.6 now, Ricardo Feller, who looked good, particularly in the first free practice session yesterday. He was in the top 6. He was top of the times for much of it after a really disappointing weekend at Spa for Ricardo. Let's see how he can bounce back in the Audi. Leon Kohler goes 4th quickest, 129.1 with his first roll of the dice in this qualifying session, and Sheldon van der Linde a 39.2 and then a 26.9 to go top of the times for now in the Schubert Motorsport BMW. 128.613. That's only a 10th slower than the best lap we saw yesterday, but look, it's going to get quicker and quicker as the tyre temperature goes up, more rubber gets laid down, the track temperature rises, and Felipe Fraga there 22.31 seconds is quickest through sector 1, and his teammate Nick Cassidy, who became the 9th different race winner at Spa 2 weeks ago of the season, he's only a fraction slower through sector 1 with 22.33 seconds. The middle sector's key. Lucas Auer is doing pretty well, but he's a couple of tenths down in the first sector. It's a good second sector, which Felipe Fraga has matched. Nick Cassidy's only slightly slower there as well, so Fraga could be going fastest. It's Lucas Auer quickest for now. He's done a 128.562, but Fraga looks like he might be about to pip that, and you're going to see Cassidy somewhere near that time as well when they come through very shortly to cross the finish line. They're about to whiz past the commentary box, which is just directly overlooking the start-finish line. Where do the Ferraris end up? One of them goes quickest for now. Felipe Fraga to the top of the times, 128.24 seconds. And Kelvin van der Linde's put a good lap in as well, 128.342 to go second. But René Rast now goes to the top of the times, 128.225. Absolute best in sector 2 and sector 3. So he gets just ahead of Fraga. Ricardo Feller did well as well on that lap to go 3rd. Kelvin van der Linde is 4th. So the Abt Sportsline cars are 1st, 3rd and 4th at the moment. Rast, Feller and van der Linde. The Audi's going well. Lucas Auer's bumped down to 5th place. And despite looking like he was going to have a good lap, Nick Cassidy didn't manage to secure a quick lap in the end, dropped back, I think, in the last sector, but he's got some pace in that car. Felipe Fraga's gone absolute quickest in the first sector with his second run at it in the Ferrari. Lucas Auer, though, look at that middle sector in the number 22 Mercedes, 38.88 seconds. How far has he got to close the gap? He's 3 tenths down at the moment. He needs to find 3 tenths of a second. That's a really good first sector, an excellent second sector. Thomas Preining, 2nd quickest in both free practice sessions yesterday. He's up there as well, in the mix once again. Good lap from him to go 6th quickest. Lucas Auer puts himself up to 2nd, and Dev Gore's gone off the road, flashing the headlights to say, watch it, I'm coming through, don't get in my way, is David Schumacher. And Marco Wittmann sets the absolute best first sector time. So the BMW flying through the first sector as we get a replay of Dev Gore just understeering, getting a slight twitch on. He's just got on the power a little bit too early and kissed the gravel trap. Marco Wittmann, a great first sector, but he's down a tiny bit in the second sector. It will be a good lap this, though, from Marco. He's currently 16th, and he'll be coming somewhere down towards turn 10 at the moment in the Volkenhorst BMW. The 2-time champion should get himself well up the order here, and well up perhaps into the top 10, or not. No, because the lap falls away from him at the end. Started well, dropped back. Fraga, though, has gone quickest of all with a 128.109, but current lap time, it says deleted track limits at turn 1. So that one might be taken away from him. For now, he stays at the top of the timing screen, though, with René Rast 2nd, Lucas Auer 3rd, Maro Engel 4th, Ricardo Feller 5th, Nico Müller looking strong this weekend in 6th. He's announced his departure from Audi as a works driver, having been with them since 2014. Looking to compete in Formula E and perhaps endurance racing next year, but we'll see what the plan is. But look at that, Kohler, 22.23 seconds, the best first sector so far. Thomas Preining there in 7th place. So Fraga's lap counted. It was the start of the next lap after that, which is going to be track limits. So it's not going to affect his provisional pole position time of 1:28.109 for now. Felipe will keep it. Rast in second. Auer in the pits in third place. Kohler not quite as quick as the absolute best second sector time, but I tell you what, he's pretty close to it. So Kohler with a really good lap here. He's currently in 15th place if he can hold it together through the very last sector. Here he is in the number 10 Volkenhorst BMW, but I think he's going to bail for the pits. There's some pace in that car though, so it looks like he didn't quite have enough to get it through to another lap. 2, maybe 3 quick laps, but 4 is a push, I think, even though the track conditions are pretty cool still. The tyres won't be overheating. It's only 9.9 degrees, the track temperature. There's Clement Schmidt then, who's running out of kilter with other drivers, and we haven't seen Mirko Bortolotti yet, the driver 4th in the championship. He's not put a lap in, a proper one anyway. Went out, ventured out onto the track, but didn't complete a lap, so he's back in the pits of the number 63 Lamborghini. And Lawrence Vantour has not yet put a competitive lap time in, nor Nick Cassidy. Cassidy was on a good lap, then came into the pits. So a few drivers running slightly out of kilter. Clement Schmidt has put a lap in. I'm watching him coming into the pits now, and 13th place for him. 13th place, but only 4/10 slower than provisional pole position. 22 cars covered by 9/10 of a second. Right, we've got just over 9 minutes to go. This is going to be Lawrence Vantour, isn't it, who is trying something different. We've seen this a few times from different drivers this year. Letting everybody go, mop up the track, lay rubber down, and then go out later. But you don't give yourself much time to set quick lap times. You'll get a clean track, but the trouble is, when he comes past the pit lane and into turn 1, at some point or another, people are going to be leaving the pits and potentially getting in his way on the exit to turn 1. And then you don't really give yourself time for a second run. So we'll see if it works. It hasn't really worked for anybody so far this season. But Vantour and Cassidy and Bortolotti trying something different. Bortolotti still in the pit lane. As Felipe Fraga, who's on provisional pole position here, pushes on. A steady weekend at Spa. First time he's had a steady weekend. So lots and lots of bad luck this season. He's also had a race win and a second place finish. Red Bull AlphaTauri AF Corsa with the points that Felipe scored, and the win for Nick Cassidy moved up to 4th place in the Teams Championship, the defending Teams champions. Felipe Fraga has had 1 pole position so far. That was at the Norris Ring. He's qualified 2nd at Imola, and he qualified 3rd in the very first weekend for race 2 at Portimao. So he's well capable. We know the Ferrari is quick from its performances at this circuit last year. Right, Lawrence Vantour comes upon Maxi Buch, but doesn't really get in his way. So he tries to get himself onto a flying lap now and hopes nobody gets in his way here. Right, loads of drivers going back out now. Engel, Feller, Muller, Preining, Kelvin van der Linde. Unison, who got his first championship point with the Auto Hero fastest lap last time out at Spa, he's gone back out. Lucas Stoltz has gone back out. We've still got Auer and Gutz in the pits. They're 3rd and 4th respectively, the 2 Team Winward teammates. Maximilian Gutz yet to qualify on the front row of the grid this season, yet to qualify in the top 3, but he's thereabouts in 4th place. So a good second half of the season, the defending champion. Lawrence Vantour then, an okay first sector, but not mega, 22.56, but it'll be his next lap that I'll be hoping will be the slightly quicker one. And then really will have to dart in the pits, get back out again to try and get himself a couple of laps after this. Current lap time is going to be deleted for Tommy Preining for track limits at turn 1. We're seeing more and more track limits at turn 1 as the weekend has gone on. Cassidy, Miney, van der Linde and Engel on their outlaps go through the shot. So just over 1/10 of a second between Felipe Fraga and René Rast. But remember, René Rast has got this 3-place grid penalty looming for race 1. So if it stayed like this, it would be Lucas Auer joining Felipe Fraga on the front row of the grid, and Maxi Gotts would move up to 3rd on the grid. So where's this lap going to put Lawrence Vantour? It's a pretty good one. It's not going to be right at the top of the times, I don't think, but you should see him in the top 10, I would think, if the last sector is good. No, not at all. 1:28.9. I was wrong. So the last sector, letting him down a bit there. 8/10 of a second away. A few tenths of a second away from being in the top 10, but this lap should be better. The tyres should work better for him, and he has got a clear track, so no traffic getting in his way. Felipe Fraga building up the pace, but current lap time deleted, it says, for track limits at turn 1. You'll have got that message on the radio, so he's probably backed off to save the tyres for another run at this, because this lap won't be able to count. Right, Lucas Ara's gone back out, and Maxi Goetz is just going down the pit lane now. See, so our only champion back out. So that's everybody in the top 10 out. In fact, that's everybody on track now. Nobody left in the pit lane with 5.5 minutes left to go. Nick Cassidy with the absolute best middle sector. Pretty decent first sector as well. So Cassidy, we know, has got pace from what we saw on his 2/3 of a lap before he came into the pits earlier on. Vantel's gone a bit quicker than he went before through sector 1. But he needs to find more time in sectors 2 and 3. It's a good sector 2, 39.1. And there we watch Nick Cassidy, who is headed shortly for the line with his first proper lap of the session. The Spa race winner goes through, but it's only 26th place. 1:29.9. Lawrence Van Toor pushing on, trying to find something here. Oh, the lap time was taken away, that's why. So lap time, track limits. Arjamani's lap is taken away for track limits as well. It's all happening again, just like it did yesterday. Drivers look quick, but their laps won't count. Felipe Fraga, when to get back up now, 22.23 seconds. Absolute best through sector 1. The Brazilian looking good here. Nick Cassidy, a 10th down through the first sector on him. Mirko Bortolotti leaving it very late, 4.5 minutes to go. He's plumb last at the moment. He cannot afford to have a bad grid position. He needs to be catching up in the points, not trying to catch up in the race. So Bortolotti, going to be a stressful couple of minutes this for him and for the team, the Grasser Racing team. But let's see what he can deliver. Fraga, personal best second sector. He's on course to beat his own provisional pole time here of 1:28.109 seconds. He's just got turns 9 and 10 to go. Once he goes over the crest now, through turn 9 he will go downhill through the Jochen Rindt turn, downhill then through turn 10 at about 140 kilometres an hour. Stay on the curbs, don't go all over them, don't go beyond the curbs with all 4 wheels. He should be okay with that lap. Cassidy, the absolute best middle sector as well. Felipe Fraga, 1:28.056, goes even quicker than he'd gone before to extend his advantage by another 0.5 of a second. But what about Nick Cassidy? Where is he going to put himself? He's plumb last at the moment. Cassidy comes through and goes on to provisional pole position. It's a Ferrari 1-2. The AlphaTauri, of course, a driver with his 1 lap so far, has gone right to the top of the times. The quickest lap of the weekend, 1:27.884. Fraga second, Rast third, but with a 3-place grid penalty. Auer fourth, Goetz in 5th, Engel in 6th place. Bortolotti's first proper lap put him up to 16th, but it's only 16th. He needs more with 3 minutes 14 to go. Felipe Fraga is not yet done. Absolute best first sector. The Brazilian is on fire here at the moment. And what about Sheldon van der Linde? What can he do? He's down in 18th place at the moment, which is not ideal. He's going to get a couple more laps in if he wants, but he's still 18th. The 1:28.85 needs to get this job done. You've got Ricardo Feller up onto the front row of the grid now. He's split the Ferrari. He's just going through your shot there in the blue Audi. He's gone second quickest with the 1:28.010, which puts him just 46 thousandths quicker than Felipe Fraga. So Cassidy quickest, Feller second, Fraga third, but Fraga has backed off like in the middle sector. Nick Cassidy has not backed off. Personal best sector 1, absolute best sector 2. This could be an even quicker lap from Nick. We'll find out shortly. He's about to come over the start-finish line. And where will this put him? He'll see him in about 10 seconds. We'll get Fraga first, but he's going to go on to another flying lap. This one won't be a quick one. Cassidy then comes out of the final turn at turn 10, sprints for the line. What's he going to get here? A 1:27.8 exactly. It's the new fastest lap of the session. Cassidy has got the quickest 2 laps now, and his advantage is over 0.2 of a second. So Cassidy on pole. Fraga second, Bortolotti third. Why is that? Because Feller's time has been taken away for track limits. That's why Feller is bumped back down to 10th place. Track limits. Marco Wittmann, absolute best first sector. Where can Marco find himself here at the moment? He's languishing back in 23rd place. That Bortolotti, third quickest now. Fourth quickest, 1:28.058, because René Rast just goes second. Cassidy quickest, Rast second, Fraga third, Bortolotti fourth. Second place will be 5th on the grid though for Rast with a 3-place grid penalty. So Sheldon van der Linde, 14th. He's gone up a bit, but not enough. He needs to climb up the order more, and there's only 1 minute, 20 seconds to go. Having been the best qualifier on average this year, can he pull something out of the bag? Marco Wittmann might be about to pull something out of the bag as well. A very, very good second sector. And the absolute best first sector for the German driver. He's going to rise from 24th, but where will he go in the order? Here he comes out of turn 10 in the green and white Volkenhorst BMW, and Marco Wittmann sprints for the line now, and only 24th place. loses out in the last sector, look, with a 28.1. He's got one more lap to go at it, though. One more lap to try. So Wittmann went through 129.6 in the end. And as his previous lap, 128.7 with that one. Not quick enough. And Nico Müller goes third quickest. Been in the top 4 in every session so far. Nick Cassidy is coming to the pits, I can see from the commentary box. So Cassidy pits, Felipe Fraga pits. The Ferraris at the moment sit 1st and 5th. But with René Rast, this 3-place grid penalty, an absolute best first sector for Leon Kohler. 22.07, that's a mega first sector. The run through turn 1 and up the hill to turn 3 must have been great, but you need the good middle sector here to really get a strong lap in. It's the shortest sector, sector 1, nonetheless. Excellent stuff from Leon Kohler, who is in the middle of the field at the moment in 17th place. Sheldon van der Linde 16th. The checkered flag is out. Sheldon van der Linde is 16th at the moment. 16th place. Leon Kohler, pretty good second sector. Not the absolute best. Bortolotti has slipped back to 6th place. He's on a reasonably good lap here. Well, a really good lap actually. 38.8. Good second sector. It's not the absolute best, but he's not far away. It's a personal best sector 1. So Bortolotti might be about to move up the order in the Lamborghini. He goes through 6th place, 128.1. He almost matched his best lap, but not quite. And Leon Kohler improves up into 12th place. It's a really fine effort, that, this first qualifying session in the DTM. But it looks for all the world, with just a few drivers left to run through, though, that Nick Cassidy is going to get pole position in the AlphaTauri AF Corsa Ferrari with a 127.8, half a tenth clear of René Rast, the 3-time champion and 3-time winner here. But Rast not yet done. Can't get pole, though, because of his grid penalty. Personal best sector 1, personal best sector 2. All he can do is be fastest and then get himself 4th on the grid. At the moment, he'll be 5th on the grid, which isn't too bad. Lucas Auer is still out there as well on a pretty good lap. So where can he come? René Rast goes to the top of the times. 127.698, almost exactly like at Spa, right at the end of the session. Almost the last one through. And he delivers the goods. And that is why he's a 25-time race winner. But he will have this grid penalty. And therefore, Nick Cassidy will start the race from pole position in the Ferrari. Wow, what a session. Absolutely tight as you like that. 9/10 of a second between 23 of the 27 cars. Thomas Biermeier happy with that performance, but Nick Cassidy will be delighted. Absolutely delighted with that. And well, he's hit his rhythm now, hasn't he? He looked fantastic all weekend at Spa. He's had some bad luck this year as well. Remember, he's missed a couple of rounds, so he's only had, all in all, including last year, 5 weekends in the championship. That's his best qualifying of the year. Wasn't technically pole position. René Rast will get that, and of course, he'll get 3 championship points. Grid penalty doesn't affect that, so 3 championship points will go to René Rast, and that is going to be enough to move him onto 99 championship points, which is to say he's going to move up to 2nd place in the championship, just ahead of Lucas Auer by a point. Nick Cassidy, though, will start the race from pole position. So Rast, with that 3-place grid penalty, will start 4th. Nico Müller with 3rd place there. Good to see Nico back. He's been strong this weekend. That's his 3rd best qualifying of the year, but his best since he was on the front row of the grid in the 3rd weekend of the season at Imola. Riccardo Feller, excellent qualifying, 4th. Felipe Fraga, 5th. Mirko Bortolotti left it late, but 6th place. He's up there in the fight. He's been quick all weekend. Arjun Maini 7th, but he's got a 3-place grid penalty. So Lucas Auer will move up from 8th place. Maximilian Gotz 9th. Maro Engel 10th. Lucas Stoltz in 11th. Leon Kohler, really impressive in 12th. Tommy Preining, well, I think we're disappointed, given how quick he was yesterday relative to the others, to only be 13th. But he's a quick starter, so watch the Porsche potentially coming through. Kelvin van der Linde, didn't see much of him in that session, but back in at 14th place. And his brother, Sheldon van der Linde, the championship leader, only, I'm afraid, 17th fastest in that session, just under 8/10 of a second away from the pace. So it might be damage limitation in race 1, but he won't panic. I spoke to him after the race at Spa. I said, how difficult is it this year to stay positive, to stay focused, because everybody's having one good day, one bad day. It's really hard to get a run together. There's not a single driver in the top 10 in the championship that has scored points in all of the last 4 races. And he said, you know, tomorrow's another day. That's the good thing. You get 2 races in a weekend. And if you have a bad day one, you know, a pretty positive person. I think that I just look forward. I don't ever look backwards, really, to what's gone wrong, just at what's in front of me. So he'll need that today, but he can get some points from 17th on the grid. You can overtake here at this circuit. But René Rast it is that will take the 3 championship points. 2 points for Nick Cassidy, a point for Nico Müller, is still not out of the championship either. He'll move on to 79 points. And 1/10 of a second in the end was the advantage for René Rast over Nick Cassidy. Nico Müller a further 10th back in 3rd. And they were the only 3 drivers that got into the 1 minute 27s. So there we see the championship standings. Sheldon van der Linde stays on 130, but René Rast moves back up to 2nd in the championship with those 3 points on 99, ahead of Lucas Auer, stays on 98. Mirko Bortolotti stays on 94. Dennis Lawson, didn't really see much of him either, but qualifying, afraid, has not gone well for the Porsche driver. He's back in 18th place in the session. He's 5th in the championship. Lucas Stolz, 6th in the championship. Thomas Preining, an okay but not great, qualifying 7th in the championship. And Nico Müller, gaining that championship point, 79 points, stays in 8th place in the championship standings. So that's about it from me, Chris Hartley, in the commentary box. But let's head down to the pit lane now and get some reaction down with Verena Vrit.
And I've got René Rast here, who's in pole position theoretically, but because of the penalty in Spa, you'll be in P4. But it's your 3rd pole this year, and also you're now 2nd in the championship. So what are you going to make out of it?
Yeah, very unexpected, obviously. I didn't really expect the Audi to be that strong in Red Bull Ring, but obviously it is. So very happy with that. I had a very good lap. I had a bit of a draft of one of the other Audis, so that helped a lot for sure. But for the race, obviously, as you said, starting P4 is not ideal. But yeah, anything is possible. I think now it's very important that we focus on our main rivals in the championship, which is Sheldon, obviously, and Luki, and who else is Mirko. So yeah, I think they are all behind us. That's the most important, and now we need to collect points for the championship.
All right, it's going to be very exciting in the race, that's for sure. Thank you so much, René.
Thank you.
So that's it from the qualifying here in Spielberg, and we're very excited about the race. It's going to be super tight. So see you later. Bye-bye.